Well, the past 2 years have been a headache for global supply chains. Businesses are now bracing for more. Russia's war against Ukraine is already distorting markets. Now COVID-19 cases in China are surging once again, and that's leading to key factory closures.
Barbed wire separates neighborhoods in Shenzhen, a desperate attempt to keep a new wave of coronavirus infections in check. China reported 5,280 new cases on Tuesday, more than double the previous day's tally. Now entire cities are under lockdown with no way in or out, as some travelers found out. I was going to go back by long-distance bus, but now I can only take a train. I had to wait 48 hours for a negative test result before I could leave, so this does affect me. I think the outbreak this year is worse than the first year, but we Shanghai people aren't really panicking. Many of us have food supplies stored at home just in case the neighborhood or workplace suddenly locks down. But it's not only grocery stores that are closing. With millions of Chinese affected in the country's tech and financial hub, some major companies had to halt production. Among them Apple suppliers Foxconn and Unimicron. The economic impact for the country could be immense. Analysts say that China's goal of a 5.5% GDP growth is unrealistic.
I spoke to our Taipei correspondent Zhou Zhanghan about that lockdown in Shenzhen and other cities. I asked what they could mean for Chinese trade.
Shenzhen will be closed for at least a week, and that is serious. The world's third largest port, Yantian Port in Shenzhen, is unlikely to be able to accommodate ships this week and perhaps next week as well. We should remember that when this port was closed last year because of the epidemic, the scale of disruption of cargo transportation was about twice as large as the Suez Canal jam. And that was when Shenzhen, the city itself, was not in a lockdown. With this and more cities in complete or partial lockdowns, we will see a highly disrupted supply chain. And there are many reports on sources in Chinese industry revealing their fear. Many big companies they are gradually moving their factories outside of China with a target of about 15 to 20% capacity diversification by 2023.
All right, so producers looking to move their chains elsewhere at the moment, given that lockdown. Is it fair to say that this comes at an otherwise difficult moment for the Chinese economy?
Well, I will start with China's official stance that, according to the spokesperson from the National Bureau of Statistics, from the figures, the Chinese economy has shown a real warmth. That's what the official said. And the official data show that China's exports and investment grew by 13.6% and 12.2% respectively from January to February, while consumer retail sales increased by 6.7%. But for the industry, the data was too good, far better than the market's expectations. We have economists that predict that the pandemic and Russo-Ukrainian war could affect half of the China's GDP. We know the government is targeting a GDP growth of about 5.5%. Now, more and more banks expect it to grow by just 4 to 5% this year.
All right, not to mention issues with the tech sector, of course. So now there's the possibility of U.S. sanctions. That's really on the table now, should China decide to provide material support to Russia in its war with Ukraine. How big a concern is that for Chinese business leaders?
Actions speak louder than words. The Beijing-based Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, stopped activities that are linked to Russia and Belarus. The BRICS Development Bank, which is jointly financed by China, Russia, India, Brazil, and South Africa, also announced the suspension of new transactions in Russia. Before this, two of China's largest state-owned banks had begun to restrict financing for the purchase of Russian commodities. All these show that Chinese financial institutions do not want to be sanctioned and lose the opportunity to trade in US dollars. So we know how big a concern it is for the business leaders in China.
All right, so Zhanghan in Taipei, thank you very much.